Okay. We are picking up at the two dots on Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, which if you look where the Tosfos is, it says Amen Yisoma on the left-hand side. It's right across from there. There's two dots, like right in the middle of the Amud. So the Gemara says, Tan Rabbanan, Einon lo amein chatufa, v'lo amein ketufa, v'lo amein yisoma. You cannot say three different types of amein. There's ways that you can mispronounce it. So you don't say, the Gemara says you cannot say amein if it's amein chatufa, which Rashi explains that to mean that you're mispronouncing amein. Instead of saying amein, you're saying imein. You're saying it with you're saying it imein. That would be an amein chatufa. And amein ketufa is where you shorten the amein. So instead of saying it at the end, you cut it short. So you said amei. And you didn't say the nun at the end, the nun sofis. And amen yisoma is where you did not hear the bracha that was being said, and you just answered amen to. You had no idea what the bracha was. So Rashi also points out that he says it's potentially a problem because the Gemara says that in Alexandria they used to have thousands of people that would be at davening, and because the shul was so large, they weren't able to hear the chazan davening. So what they would do is they would wave these flags when the chazan was finished making the bracha. Someone, I guess, would wave a flag, and when they saw the flag waving, that's when they knew to answer amen. So Rashi says it contradicts what we're saying right here, because over here we're saying that you're not allowed to say amen if you don't know what the bracha is, and over there you see that that's the way that they did it always. They used to daven, and people would say amen even though they could not hear the bracha. And the answer given is that they knew which bracha was being said even though they couldn't hear it, meaning they knew that, okay, we're starting the beginning of Chazar Sashat, so he's right now by Magen Avraham. They couldn't hear him saying Magen Avraham, but they knew that it was the first bracha. So if you know what the bracha is that's being said, you can answer amen to it. But if you don't know what the bracha is that's being said, then you shouldn't answer it. And also the Brisa says, "V'lo yizrak bracha mipiv." You should not throw out a bracha from your mouth, meaning that you shouldn't say it very quickly without any thinking about it. But you should say the bracha, and you should think about what the bracha is that you're giving. Like, we come in, we're very thirsty, we take a drink of water, so we just and then we gulp the water down. So you should take your time when you're making the bracha. Ben Azai Omer, Kala Ono Amen Yisoma, whoever says an Amen Yisoma, which again is one that you don't know what it is, what the bracha is, Yubon of Yisomim, his children should be orphans. Like it's a pretty heavy thing that if that it's pretty serious. Chatufa, and if someone answers to Amen Chatufa, which again is where he mispronounces it, so Yischatfu Yom of his days are going to be taken away, which means he's going to die young. And Ketufa, if someone answers with an Amen where he doesn't say the nun at the end and he's saying it short, Yizkat Yom of his days are also going to be shortened. He's not going to live a long life. And someone who says an amen, a long amen, so his days are going to be, he's going to live a long and happy life. And I just was listening to Rabbi Silver when he gave this shir in Daf Yomi, so a couple of years ago. So he said that what does it mean? It doesn't mean that literally that your life is going to be shortened, but he meant that if someone's living his life and he's not living it properly, so if you're not saying that, you're not living properly, you're not thought out in what you're doing, because all these things are reflections of someone not living a life thought out. You don't know what bracha, you don't know where they're holding, you're mispronouncing the words, you're saying them short. He says that in life, a person should be living their life that in a way that he's doing everything properly. That's what it means. That not that his days are going to be that he's going to die, but it means that he's just not living the fullest life possible that he could be doing. So that's Rabbi Silver's take on that. Rav Shmuel, Havi Yasuf Sudas, Rav and Shmuel were eating a meal together. Also, Rav Simi Bar Chia, Havi Komisar Va'achon. Rav Simi Bar Chia came in, and he started he was eating very, very quickly because he wanted to join them in the Zimun. Okay. So Amarle Rav, so Rav said to him, "My daitach let strufe bahadan. Why do you think you're eating so quickly? Because you're going to be able to join us together in the zimun? We already finished eating, and therefore you're not going to be able to. Even though you're eating now, but we've already stopped eating, so you can't join in together with us in the zimun." So Amarle Shmuel, so Shmuel said to him, "Ilumaisili adar ardilya. If they would bring mushrooms for me, ugazal yala abra. If they would bring these pigeons, these baby pigeons." For you, for Rav, we would still eat it. So yeah, we finished eating, but we didn't finish eating. I mean, we're only finished eating because there's no more food on the table. But if something comes out, you finish eating a big meal, and then you say you're stuffed, and then you bring out dessert. And they bring out dessert, and you're ready to have, don't cut me a sliver, cut me like a real slice, like a man's slice of cake. So he said, because we would still eat if good food was being brought out to us, so then you could participate with us. And that's actually the halacha, that if, let's say, people are eating, a friend joins you in the pizza shop, okay, and he comes late. So you two finish eating your pizza, and he's joining now, and he starts eating. So you might think that because you're done, you're not able to bench together. And the halacha is that if you would eat more, when, like if they would bring you fries, pizza, whatever it is, they would bring more food out to you and you would eat it, then you could still make a mezuzah together, even though you did not end up, the three of you did not end up eating together. A lot of people think that you have to have that the other two people start eating more food than them, but they don't. It's just if they would eat, if food was brought to them, then that's enough for them to make a zimun together. Another story about Zimun, Talmidei de Rav, Haviyasu B'Sudasa, the Talmid of Rav were sitting together eating a meal. Al Rav Ach and Rav Acha came in after they had started eating, and Amri, and they said, Asa Gavran Rab in the Mavarachlan. There was a great person, Rav Ach was a great person. He came in, and remember we said before that they would always be Mechabed, the great the most important person with benching. So he says, Rav Acha came in, so we're going to honor him with benching. So Amr Lahus, Rav Acha said to them, Misa Vrisu de Gadim Mavarach, do you think that the most important person that's at the table is the one that's going to be benching? Ikar Shabasudim Mavarach. No, it's whoever was there for the primary meal. I came in late, so I didn't really eat with you guys. So even though I could participate in a zimun with you, but I'm not. But I came late, so therefore I shouldn't be the one to lead you in benching. But the Gemara says, V'hilchasa, but that's not the halacha. Gadim Mavarach Afa Gav de Asl Vasov. That the halacha is that even though if the greatest person comes in and he's really, everyone else had finished eating, but again, like in the situation we were describing where they would eat again, so then the halacha is that you could still honor the most important person, even if he was eating later on after everyone else had eaten. Okay, the next Gemara, the Gemara is going to go on to explain the other things. The Mishnah talked about different foods that you would think that would be asur to eat, but you're still able to be mitzvah together to make a zimun for it. The first thing was, the Mishnah said, Achal Demai, if someone ate Demai, which again, remember, Demai is that it's a combination of two words, Damai. We don't know what this food is, where Trumos taken out. It's food from an Ama Aretz, and we don't know if they kept the halacha properly to take off the Trumos that they had to take off. So Gemara asks, Halo Chazi labor, you're not allowed to eat it. The person's is not supposed to be eating Demai. So why is it that you could eat it and make a zimun for it? So Gemara says, Kivin di boy mafkil hulanachse v'havi ani. Since if a person wanted to, he could say that he's going to declare all of his property ownerless, and then he's going to be considered like a poor person. And the halacha is that Demai is fit for a poor person, because Demai is only Asr Drabanan. Okay, we don't know, did the Amma Aretz take off Trumos or not? So we say ideally you should not be eating it. But if, let's say, there's a poor person, we say that a poor person's able to eat Demai. It's not a problem, he's able to do it. So since a person could, in theory, be mafkir all of his possessions, and therefore he's not gonna own anything, and he'll be like a poor person. So we say that he could eat this Demai, and then he's going to be able to be part of the Zimun. The Tanan, because we learned in a Mishnah, Machilin Asaniyim Demai, they're able to feed poor people Demai. Vesachsanya Demai, you're able to feed. They used to have soldiers that would go for, they'd be traveling, going from one battlefront to the other, and they're going to different cities. So it was the responsibility of the people who live in that city or village to feed the soldiers. So the halacha is they're able to feed the soldiers because the soldiers are also, they're considered homeless at the time that they're traveling. They're not at their homes. They're on the road right now. So you're able to feed them Demai. Rav Huna said, Tana, Beishama Yomrim, Ein Machilin Asaniyim Esachsani Demai. You are not able to eat the poor and soldiers Demai, but because again the halacha is like Beis Hillel, who say that you could do it, so therefore you're able to do it. And it's just very interesting that there's a question that's asked if someone was traveling on the road and he's famished, he's really, really hungry, and he says he can't help himself anymore. He goes into Burger King, okay, and he gets himself a Big Mac. So what's the halacha? Do you make a bracha on that or not? McDonald's. Oh, McDonald's is Big Mac? Okay. So do you make a bracha on the Big Mac? So it's a machlokas between the Rambam and the Ravid. The Rambam says absolutely not. You do not make a bracha if you're eating something that you're not allowed to eat. But the Ravid says that's not true. It's impossible. He says you have to, he says even though the food that you're eating is usur, but the bracha that you're making is because you're getting enjoyment, and you're still getting enjoyment out of it. So therefore you are responsible. You do have to make a bracha if you're having a. So again, it's not suggested to go out and go eat a Big Mac. But if you were, it's machlokas Rambam and Ravid. That would be great. You call up your local Orthodox rabbi, say, "Hi, Rabbi, I'm in McDonald's right now. Do I make a bracha or not? How do we paskin in the end?" Okay. So the next thing the Mishnah said, Ma'aser Rishon Shenitla Trumas. If you have Ma'aser Rishon that the truma was taken, so you can make a zimun on that. So, and again, remember, there's different things that truma is the 2% that farmer would give to the Kohen, and then you would have that he would give 10% to the Levi, which would be the Meiser Rishon. So, and then from that, the Levi would give Trumas Meiser. He would go give then, from that, he would give Meiser to the Kohen. So the Mishnah said that if someone eats Meiser Rishon where the Truma had been taken properly, so he can also participate in the Zimun. So Gemara asks, Pshita, why would he not be able to participate in the Zimun? Everything was done like it was supposed to be. So Gemara answers, Lo tzricha el hashiktima b'shvibalim, that the Mishnah is talking about where the Levi went ahead, the whole obligation to give Truma and to give Meiser Rishon is only once the grain has been, it's been taken out of the husks and it's been smoothed over. So then it's already roy lachila, it's fit for eating. At that point, that's when you're obligated to give trumos. So we're talking about a situation where the Levi kind of jumped the gun, and before they had made the food that was obligated and taken truma, he went ahead and he took he took the Meiser Rishon that he took the 10% that he was going to get. The history from Menu Trumas Meiser, and then from that, the Levi went and he took, remember, because the Levi is obligated to give Meiser to the Kohen from the food that he got. So the Levi went and he took from this, from his preemptive strike, that he beat the Kohen to it, he went ahead and he took it, and then he went to give the Trumas Meiser to the Kohen. Lo hifresh from Menu Truma Gedola, but he did not take off the Truma Gedola. Okay, remember, there's the 2% that was supposed to go to the Kohen, then there's 10% that's supposed to go to the Levi. So in theory, what's supposed to happen, if you had 100 bushels of wheat, so 2 bushels should go to the Kohen, then from the 98 that's left, you would have, the Levi would get 10%, 9.8. But the Levi, what he did here is he took 10% to start with. So he was really taking, he was taking really what belonged to the Kohen, and then he was obligated to give to the Kohen, but he did not yet give his portion of Truma that he was obligated to give. He didn't give it to the Kohen yet. So if you have this Meiser Rishon, that the Levi took preemptively before the Truma was given, it was still in its stalks. It had not yet been taken. I don't know what grain is in stalks. It's in whatever grain's in. So they hadn't taken. I just looked for it in the stores, once it's baked. But they hadn't taken the grain out from whatever it's husks. Husks is a good word. So they hadn't taken it out. So Patum Truma Gedola. If that happened, if the Levi went ahead and he took he took his portion before the amount that was given to the Kohen, it is no longer obligated. You don't give the Truma anymore to the Kohen. Why? Because the pasuk says, Shenemar, you should give Truma to Hashem, Meiser from the Meiser. So the pasuk explains it. Meiser min Meiser marti lecha lo Truma Gedol lo Trumas Meiser min Meiser. That the only time that you're supposed to do it is when you have it that it was given initially. But if there was no initial Truma that was given off, and then the Levi went ahead and he took it preemptively, you do not at that point then give Truma to the Kohen that he was entitled to originally. He loses out on it. So Gemara says, so if that's the case, I feel hikdima b'kri nami. So then also if he took it after it was already, if let's say, look, again, we're talking about where the grain had not been taken out of the husks. But if that's the case, even if the grain had been taken out of the husks and the Levi preemptively went and took it, why don't we say also that you should not give truma from that? And the halacha is that you do give truma. So Gemara answers, Amar Le, Allah Amar Kra, the pasuk says, we're turning now to Mem Zayin Abayz, Mikal Masro Sechem Tarimu, that from all your Meiser you have to give Truma. That once it has the obligation to give Truma, once that's already fallen onto it, then you have to give the Kohen what he's entitled to. So if it never was in a state that it was obligated to go to the Kohen, and the Levi took it preemptively, the Kohen does not get the 2%. Once it was already fit for the Kohen to get his Truma, but the Levi went ahead and jumped the gun, and he took it when he wasn't supposed to, that doesn't take off the obligation that the Kohen was already entitled to take his 2%. So Gemara asks, Umara Isa, why do you know to apply it that way? The Gemara says, as we're kind of like explaining it, Hay Igdan, Hay Lo Igdan, because one is considered to be grain and the other one's not considered to be grain. If it was still in its husks and the Levi took it, it's not considered to be grain yet, that it has an obligation and the Kohen's not entitled to the Truma. But if it was already taken out of its husks, then again, the Kohen already had the ability to take it, and therefore that doesn't fall off. The next thing that the Mishnah said was about foods that you were able to join together for a Zimun was Meiser Sheni v'Hekta Sheniftu. That if you have Meiser Sheni or Hekta Sheniftu, which those are, if a person has Meiser Sheni, so the halacha is that, and it's too much for him to take he doesn't want to take that up to you. You have to eat in Yerushalayim, but it belongs to you. It doesn't go to the Kohen, it doesn't go to Levi. A regular Yisrael is able to eat that. But let's say he's got all of this grain, he's got all of his produce, and it's too much of a schlep for him to take it from Beit Shemesh up to Yerushalayim. So is that Beit Shemesh right? I guess so. I think so. That's not considered Yerushalayim. No, I don't. Okay, so it's too much of a schlep for him to take it up from Beit Shemesh to Yerushalayim. So therefore, what he says is he's going to redeem the produce. If the produce is worth $100, so he redeems the produce. He transfers the kedusha onto the money. He takes the money with him to Yerushalayim. Then in Yerushalayim, he goes around. He's able to go to the shuk. He's able to buy foods. He's able to buy what he wants, and he eats in Yerushalayim. So the Gemara says, Pshita, why is it that what's the problem? Why should he not be able to if he took off Meiser Sheni and Hektish Sheniftu, why would you not be able to join in a Zimon? Everything was done properly. So the Gemara answers, the halacha is that when a person redeems Meiser Sheni, or if he redeems Hektish, so there's a penalty that you're given by doing that. Not only do you have to redeem, again, if it's worth $100, you have to redeem, you add a fifth onto that, so you end up paying $120 is what you end up producing, and you take that $120, that has the kedusha, you take that up to Yerushalayim, and then you're able to spend the $120. So we're talking about a case where the person redeemed the produce for $100, but he did not add on that extra chomesh. He didn't add on that extra fifth, so that's what it's talking about. That if you do not redeem, if you do not take if you do not pay that 1/5 yet, that it's still going to be, that doesn't stop you from being able to join into the Zimun, and that's considered to be redemption. We'll do one more piece of Gemara. The Gemara says, the next thing the Mishnah said was that if you have the waiter was sitting and he was going in and out and he was eating with them, so he said that he's able to join together with them and he's able to make the Zimun with them. So Gemara asks Pshita, why would you think that he's not able to join together with the Zimun? Gemara answers, Ma'od the same Shamash lo kavod, because he really didn't set himself. It's like, when you take a charge in the NBA. He didn't have his feet planted. So same thing, like he wasn't sitting down and at the table and eating with them, but he was going in and out and he was serving them while he was doing it. And while he was there, he was also grabbing food and he was eating. So you might think that that's not considered to be part of the Zimun. So Gemara says, Kamash Malon. Therefore, the Mishnah tells us that he is able to join together in the Zimun, and he would be able to part. That is considered enough that he ate with them, that he would be able to join together with the Zimun. Okay, we'll stop here, and tomorrow night at 7:55.